Blessed be. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man, having found, hides again, and for joy thereof goes and sells everything he has, and buys that field. Matthew 13:44. In days now left behind me, the way an exile leaves behind all he cannot carry, I saw in part, and I understood in part. I strained to compass the horizon of my days, watching the generous promise of the future rise like a tall ship into view. And I rejoiced at what I saw, the way men rejoice at the harvest, when it comes time to parcel out the spoils of victory. But just as one who stands on the beach and gazes can see no further than 3 miles before his vision is guillotined by the horizon, just as all the plans and foresight of generals still leave cannon pointing southward, so the future came upon me from a direction unexpected. Like a battalion of paratroops out of the sky, the future came, resolute and wavering, securing its beachhead in the invasion of my life. And through the rear window of my house, my love came also, breaking and entering, a gun in her hand. And even while I toasted her with champagne and chocolate, even while I sang the pleasures of her mouth and the rich plains of her body, she laid me low and took what she wanted and was gone. The cavalry of righteousness drew up in my yard. The foot soldiers of justice took up arms against me. But I, leaving all my life behind, I stepped out of my skin, abandoned it like a corpse, and set out to walk the stars. In the beginning was the world, and the world was a woman bound about by the music of time, suspended in the meditative geometry of the chords of existence and fate, helpless and willing in the hands of her master. And it was God who shaped her bindings into the forms of the trigrams, establishing the order of Tian and Kun, lake, fire, thunder, wind, water, mountain. Such stardust as we are runs along the threads of their equations, chaos and matter everlastingly blent into all the shades of reality. Thus fate commenced, and now our courses unfold into the fullness of the future, and in spite of our struggles, our shapings and prayers, the loaded dice of God will fall which way they must as the angels watch, as the world revolves on slowly in the dark. Blessed be. Some there are who learn this by the end, like Abraham Abulafia, who sought the face of God in numbers and letters, combining them over and over, until he ran out of names and he ran out of numbers. But on he walked down the burning road of chaos until at the last his whole life flashed before him. In the hour of his death, he saw great wings brooding above the waters of his life. He saw the 64 forms strung together like a bracelet, and satisfied, he died. But for others, here on earth, in the mortal details of our flesh, chaos. Our lives pass before us, molten, blundering like drunken girls weeping, clutching, writhing, throwing up, indignity upon indignity. After pleasure, pain. After laughter, grief. And though joy might kick in us as a child kicks in its mother, sorrow can kick also. Sometimes so much sorrow that each blow feels more like the jerk of an aeroplane when the synchronizer fails and the bullets hit the propeller, the whole craft shuddering in the ragged air before smashing its pilot over engine and earth. Such are our lives, our bodies, like our hearts, too easily broken. And yet still we sit at the banquets of existence, anointed and royal, sceptered and enthroned. And when love comes our way, we cling to one another, and with what courage we find in the face of the dark, we say, even this, just as it is, this is my body, now given unto you. A man and a woman are taking a bath together. The water rolls over their skin, he rubbing soap over her body and breasts, she over his flanks and thighs, as they make each other clumsily clean after the tumbled sweat of lovemaking, or perhaps before it. Thus are they made holy, thus made pure, each by each. Such is love. But the face of love is also the face of war, the face of Ishtar, rifle goddess, needing constantly to be oiled and fingered and caressed, lest she grow stiff and betray you in the moment of decision. And that was my sin, to let the Milky Way be set between us, love of mine, to dream upon the arts of peace in time of war, to try to outwait heaven. And where now is the solace of those mornings when I loved you, when the words that passed between us hung like prayers on the air? Where now are the songs that unfolded soft between us? Where now is the sunlight on your hair? No, after war, for all parties concerned, anguish and exile. The tale is told of Ulysses, blown into another archipelago by the promise of plunder and an unexpected wind to marvel at the graven images of an unfamiliar city. But I will speak of another man of trials, sailing also away from the same ruined Troy, from Ilium sacked and plundered. Aeneas, last captain of his race, father of cities, son of love. Aeneas the exile, who slipped also from Carthage like a woman in the darkness before daybreak, hurrying back to his life and family before dawn laid bare all secrets. Lady Dawn, rose-fingered one, jealous enemy of lovers, your hands are stained, goddess, not with blood, but with attar, with the oil of roses taken by crushing flower after flower. That is your true nature, morning, you who quell dream after dream, who with your ruthless light breaks all our hearts with sorrow. But yet you, goddess, are also my patron. You who rouse the beating will of the city to force life through its streets and avenues. You who bring the freshness of new days to help us bear up against every new grief. You also it is, goddess of new beginnings, who rules all my makings. And just as by your light Aeneas came to Latium, just as by your light Ulysses came home, so also may I cast my crown into the sea and step ashore to build and begin again. Like the hum and crash of a great machine, removing debris from the bombed-out house, making it new and fit again for different lives to dwell in, this is my blood now, beating in me, pulsing through veins, arteries, all the pathways of my life like the flow of living light. This too was set out for me, fixed and choosable, long before I was formed in the womb. And year after year the flowers bloom and bloom again above the rippling canal, bloom and drift away on the water and the wind, and are gone. So too my own life, my own history, all I have ever loved blossoms, and is here a moment, and only a moment. But in that moment let me sing and love and surrender to the fullness of what comes, of what has been, and of what is yet to be. All of it, speaking and silent. All of it. All of it. Blessed be.